Hi, everybody. This is Phil Spesser from Foresight Science and Technology. I want to welcome you to the second of our series on succeeding with SBIR. Today, I'm particularly honored to have April Richards here from the Environmental Protection Agency. I've known April for a long time, and I can tell you she is one of those people that make you appreciate the fact that you have a United States government, because she's really dedicated and bends over backwards to help both applicants and awardees to her program, which has been very successful in moving forward environmental technology. So without much more ado, the rules of engagement for everybody is please mute your microphone if it's not already, unless you're talking. That keeps the background noise down. And secondly, we'll look forward to questions. You certainly can, in the chat function, type any questions you have. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll open it up for a more free-flowing discussion. So with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to April, and thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Phil, for that very nice introduction, and thanks to Foresight for inviting me to give this talk. Always good to get the word out about our program, so hopefully it's beneficial to you, and it's also beneficial for us. So I will just introduce myself. I am April Richards. I am the program manager for the Environmental Protection Agency's Small Business Innovation Research Program. So I'll talk to you mostly about that, and then I'll just give a little information on some other funding opportunities that EPA has. So we'll go to the first slide. And I'll just spend just a few slides on background for SBIR, just in case anyone needs a little context. It is a set-aside program for small businesses to engage in federal R&D. So the federal government wants to give some of its research and development money to small businesses because they're smart and entrepreneurial and can help, solve some pressing problems. So that's what this program was designed for. And the ultimate goal is for commercialization. We want these projects and technologies to get out there in the marketplace. We want people to use them, and we want them to have benefit. And we want the company to make money. That's really the intent of the program. So the SBIR budget is a percentage of an agency's extramural R&D. So extramural is the money that goes out for research. And this year, that percentage will be about 3%. And across the federal government, that's $2.5 billion. So that's a lot of money out there. I wish we had a little more of it, but there is a lot out there for you. And the SBA, Small Business Administration, is the one that governs the program across the agencies, and they have a much improved website, which is sbir.gov. So you can find out information about all the agencies, about the legislation, about success stories, all kinds of things on the program right there. And that is their new fancy logo up in the right-hand corner, too, in case you're interested. So next. Here's the 11 agencies that have programs. These, if for a quick look, will tell you that they're in order of size, with Defense and Human Services and NASA and DOE and NSF on the top, holding most of the SBIR budget, and then some of us other smaller and important agencies near the bottom. But that's the list. It may not be exactly in order of budget anymore, but it's close. Next. So let me talk about EPA. That's my specialty. EPA has a great mission, which is to protect human health and the environment. And we feel pretty strongly about that, and we really want to support the development and commercialization of technologies that will help us meet that mission. So we really use that to sort of inspire us in how we write our solicitations and how we choose which projects that we ultimately fund. Okay, next. And just for structure of EPA's program, we have a budget of about $4 million right now, a little more than $4 for FY15. We do our best with that modest budget. We award contracts. Some agencies award grants and some award contracts, and just so you know how they get the money out the door. And like the other SBIR programs, ours is phased. So phase 1 is proof of concept, and for us we give $100,000 for 6 months. And for phase 2, we're really looking at that, getting closer to commercialization of the technology. We give $300,000 and have a commercialization option of $100,000, which is kind of like NSF's Phase 2B. It's a supplement to encourage companies to get third-party investment outside of the government. So the total package for EPA then for a company could be $500,000 if you got all of those Phase 1, Phase 2, and the commercialization option. Obviously, some agencies' award amounts are quite a bit more because they have a larger budget. Next. So what's special about EPA's program, just to, what's to differentiate it from other agencies? If you haven't got the message yet, we are one of the small SBIR programs, but we do work hard to try to make companies successful that end up getting funded with us. We try to make links with the EPA, so if you have an air technology or a drinking water technology, we'll try to find someone in the agency that really has expertise in that area and make sure you have a liaison that way. We do offer commercialization assistance in both Phase 1 and Phase 2, and if we're lucky, that will continue to be with Foresight. We have the commercialization option in Phase 2, so we can give you a little more money on your Phase 2 award to encourage you to commercialize. We have pretty good mechanisms for helping communicate success. We have a good web page, we blog, we have some young people that are very adept at social media, so we actually tweet and Twitter and all of those things. And, first and foremost, we're helping save the planet. So we know that a lot of people we fund really care about the environment and human health and are really dedicated. So that's our mission, and we find that a lot of folks that apply to us have that same, share that same vision. Next. EPA does one solicitation per year, and so we have a cycle every year of awarding, of issuing a solicitation, making Phase 1 and Phase 2 awards. Our next solicitation should open this summer, and we will hopefully post topics pretty soon on our website, even before the solicitation is open, so you can see what kinds of things we are looking for. We have sort of tailored our topics because of our modest budget to improve the odds of funding for small businesses. So if you do have a match with one of our topics, you'll now have a better chance of getting funded. We used to have more broad topics, and now they're a bit more tailored. And all of our submissions now are electronic. Hooray! And that's through FedConnect, which is an electronic submission system. That's all I'll say. It works, and it is an improvement over paper submission. So stay tuned for that. Let's go to the next slide. I'll talk about topics a little bit. Just for reference, this is last year's topics. We're actually developing this year's right now as we speak. But so here's an idea of things we are looking for, and there will definitely be some similarity in this year's topic. So if something here hits you as a match, make sure, make a note of it. Feel free to call me. I can give you some more details about how well your technology might fit. But we have, I think this year we had broad topics, and under each broad topic we had one subtopic. So for air and climate, we did sensors for homes. We had a cook stoves topic looking at the integration of cooking, heating, and power generation, which is a pretty cool area with lots of potential environmental impact. We do manufacturing, which maybe not everybody thinks of EPA, but we are definitely looking at greener manufacturing and materials, so non-toxic and biodegradable plastics was last year's topic. We had a less toxic coatings topic under chemicals. For water, we did resource and energy recovery from wastewater. For building materials, we did innovative construction materials. So again, all those topics that I've just mentioned, sort of looking at the life cycle impacts too, like toxicity, emissions, water use, energy use, end of life, all of those things going into making a very green and commercially successful technology. And then EPA also has some responsibility for homeland security. We are the agency that has to go in the event of an attack of some kind and decontaminate a building, or in this case, like a mode of transportation. So this year we did decontamination of rail cars, which is a little bit maybe out of what you think of for EPA's mission, but is an important part of what we are responsible for doing. And we will have a Homeland Security topic again this year. Okay, next. And since EPA does have a modest budget, I always do sort of a commercial announcement for my friends at other agencies that support environmental technologies. A lot of people come to EPA because they think, well, that's a big agency and the goal is to support the environment, but you might want to think about other agencies as well. The National Science Foundation is a great example. I send a lot of people to them. I'm sure they're thanking me for that. They have a very broad umbrella of topics, lots of monitors, lots of treatment, water treatment, materials, all kinds of things that could be environmental technology. So think about them if you have an environmental technology. NIEHS, which is National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, they do a lot of site cleanup. So monitoring and remediation technologies are a good fit for them. They have a small budget, but they have a fairly tailored scope. So if you have a remediation technology, it could be good for that agency. Department of Energy, of course, for things like efficiency, renewable energy. Department of Agriculture does a lot with water quality, soil, air quality, anything to do with agriculture, biomass. NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, does more climate work, so monitoring, modeling. And then all of the agencies, again, can be found at sbir.gov. So anything, any agency that you need to get more information on, you could link from sbir.gov. So back to EPA and how we do proposal review. We do have a two-stage review process, a fairly rigorous process for selecting and evaluating proposals, and that involves receiving applications, an initial external peer review panel, and then an internal programmatic review, and then awards. So next. So for the external peer review, these criteria will be listed in the solicitation, and that would be true for any agency. Just a disclaimer that these are last year's criteria and they could change somewhat this year, so please read the solicitation carefully whenever you apply and make sure that you respond directly to what's in that year's solicitation. And so again, we've put a focus on commercialization. We actually have our criteria right now 50-50 between commercialization and technical criteria. Excuse me. So for commercialization, we have the need for the technology. Is there really some demand for it? The second one is team. Is there both management and technical capabilities on the team? And then the disruptive potential. Is this really something that's going to disrupt the marketplace and not just an incremental improvement over some existing technology? So those are the three commercialization criteria. Our three technical criteria are, is it sound? Is the technical quality sound? Can you demonstrate it? Has it been demonstrated? What's the performance of the technology? And then again, for us, an emphasis on the life cycle impacts. Have you thought of all of the things that might impact the environment when you designed your technology, and that there won't be any unintended negative environmental impacts? So that's the external review. The internal review, for those that are highly rated in the first review, those that get very good or above will come internally, and we'll look at those. EPA people will look at those and try to figure out what investment is going to give us the most bang for our buck. So which ones are going to have the most relevance to EPA's mission. So again, the three topics here, the three criteria rather, are relevance to the phase 1 topics and the agency priorities. Is it sustainable? Does it address environmental, economic, and societal benefits? And is there wide use and broad application? We really want them to be used, not just in one geographic region or for one demographic. We really want them to have wide use so that they will have broad impact. And another little commercial break here. I'll just show you a couple EPA success stories. The first one is Lucid Design. This is a very cool company that has designed software to provide for the ultimate goal of energy efficiency, energy savings. And it provides real-time feedback and monitoring so that people can sort of adjust their energy usage. They've been part of the Clinton Global Initiative. They've partnered with some major private sector companies like Google and Autodesk, and they have 30, I think that's a 30, the bottom of my slide is cut off, but they have $30 million in outside investment. They've got some great clients, and they're really, really savvy and have come a long way since their initial government investment. So that's Lucid. And then I always say that no EPA presentation would be complete without mentioning Ecovative. This is a very cool company that is making materials out of mushrooms with the intent to sort of replace something like polystyrene or styrofoam. They basically grow the mushroom roots around agricultural waste in molds, and so they can make any shape that you'd want for packaging or even for something structural. They have a manufacturing plant in New York, which is near where they're founded. So not only are they creating cool materials, but they're creating jobs. The latest news was that they were being considered by IKEA to replace polystyrene in their packaging, which would be huge. And the founders of this company have been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30. So they're pretty successful and sort of very good at winning awards and getting press and having impact. This is a great example of a disruptive technology. And one last one I'm just mentioning because I think it's kind of cool. It was recently featured on Shark Tank, and they actually got an investment on Shark Tank, which seems like it's pretty hard to do. It's an older EPA SBI award, and it's a replacement for like potting soil, an amendment to potting soil, and they use recycled materials to make this pit moss. It takes less water once the plants are planted, diverts waste from the landfill, and it also is an alternative to peat moss, which is actually, peat is a pretty good carbon sink, so it's good to leave peat where it is and let it absorb carbon and not disrupt it. So this has got some cool commercial success and lots of environmental benefits. So those are just a few examples of things that we've funded in the past that have had success. And now, so that's the SBIR portion of my talk. I'm just going to mention some of the other programs in my office, which I'm not quite as much of an expert on, but if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to get you to the right person. So let me just go through a couple of these. My office does all of the extramural, or I should say most of the extramural research for EPA. So we're in the Office of Research and Development. And we have 6 main research programs. So air, climate, and energy, sustainable and healthy communities, homeland security, chemical safety for sustainability, human health risk assessment, and safe and sustainable water. And so these would be opportunities mostly for academic institutions or not-for-profits. And we could have RFAs or requests for applications in any of these areas. I think we currently only have one RFA that's open at this minute, which is related to ecosystem services. So if you did have any interest in that, you could check our website and see that that solicitation is open right now. I'll go to the next slide. Another cool program that we have in our office is called P3, which is People, Prosperity, and the Planet. This is for student design teams, and the intent is to, seed innovation and grow the next generation of environmental workforce. So to kind of get the youth of America thinking about innovating and solving some of our pressing environmental problems. And these can address worldwide issues, and the focus is often, beyond the United States borders, but worldwide. And so there's the website for that, P3. Fellowships program is a little uncertain right now. Unfortunately, we did not get a budget this year for our fellowships program. We have had an amazing fellowship program for many years, these STAR and GROW fellowships, which there are still active fellows. I am not sure the future of this program, but I just thought I would mention it. Again, if anyone has questions, I can follow up on it. We do have several partnerships in our office with the Marshall Scholarship, with AAAS, and which is the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and with ASPPH, which is Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health. So those are all active, and again have varying ways that we interact with those organizations. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those too, or get you to the right person. And One other way that you can engage, we have a webinar series with currently the two areas that we're covering are our children's centers. We have a joint children's center with NIEHS, and then we have a tribal science webinar series. So if you had any interest in either of those webinar series, I think they do monthly or quarterly, and you can just log on and learn about what we're doing in those areas. Feel free to check that out at that link. And another way folks can engage, if anyone is a small business owner or an academic and they want to be on a peer review panel, we're always looking for good peer reviewers. So if anyone's interested in being a peer reviewer, you could just send me an email. Again, we have a peer review division. I would just we just ask for your CV and we would send that forward and contact you when a panel comes up, and you could let us know if you're available and interested and figure out how that might work. I think this is my last slide. So again, this is just intended to give you some links for everything I've talked about. There's the link for research grants for EPA, which again, I think there's one open solicitation right now. I know there's more coming this year in the area of water that could be of interest to folks. There's the EPA SBIR website, the overall website for SBIR, P3, and then there is my email address, which is just richards.april@epa.gov. So feel free, if you don't get your question answered here, feel free to just shoot me an email and I'll do my best to get back to you. And that's it for now. So I'm happy, I think we have a few minutes, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, April. We've got a couple of questions. Okay, excuse me for 1 second. I did not expect my phone to go off. So the first question is there cooperation between state EPA offices and R&D that they're doing and SBIR? And is there any additional support that you're aware of for companies at the state level? Might also add the regional EPA offices to that too, April.
Right. We do work pretty closely with the regional offices. They help us at times develop the topics. Sometimes they help us review proposals, especially if they're in areas that are relevant to them. So we do, yes, we do work closely with regional offices. I mean, besides EPA, there are a lot of state resources for small businesses. There's sometimes support to help you write a proposal or to find other funding in the small businesses, SBTDC's Small Business Technology Development Centers. So there are lots of state resources out there. And actually a lot of those resources are listed on SBIR.gov.
So just to add to what April said, we're aware of a number of state programs that do funding for small companies designed to be feeders into or followers up on phase 3s for SBIRs, but they tend to be more generic, not just environmental. I have a question that I want to toss in. One of the, there's been a lot of discussion in the university sector about leveraging SBIR, both for spin-outs and as a source of gap funding. Obviously, universities cannot apply for an SBIR, although they can be a subcontractor. So if you could talk a little bit about how subcontracting works with universities and also about how EPA reviewers react to small companies spinning up university technologies.
Right. So, I mean, I guess folks, and I just would mention too that there is an STTR program, Tech Transfer, where it's more of a partnership between a small business and a university. Our budget is small enough that we are not able to have that program, but those top 5 agencies that I showed do have STTR programs. And so if people are having, you know, if they have an agreement with a small business and we're interested in that, I think often those agencies are looking for good proposals because it's a little harder to find good proposals in the STTR program. I think EPA reviewers look favorably on spin-outs from universities. I think we recognize that there's a lot of expertise there. I just think we want to make sure that the business angle is covered, that not only you have the technical expertise, but that you have the business expertise as well. That's definitely something we're looking for when we're evaluating proposals. Gosh, I feel like there was one other question in there.
The NSF people mentioned last month that a university researcher who takes a full-time sabbatical or leave of absence can be a PI on an SBIR. Is that true at EPA? I believe it's across the government.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that was the other question about what the rules are sort of for working for a university and for a small business. I know they want you to be predominantly with the small business. So if you are the PI, you have to be, I think it's literally 51% with the small business. And those rules are laid out pretty clearly across the federal government for, for all agencies.
Good, good. Are there other questions out there? Well, if not, I'm going to thank you, April, for a very wonderful presentation. I want to let everybody know that this will be on our YouTube channel, Foresight Street, where you have the link on this flip. We have a number of, actually we're working through all the agencies in this program. All of these are free webinars, and everything, all the training on Foresight Street is free, and the webinar is there. If you want more information, or if you want to be a speaker about something, we have different programs we're running on our channels, and one on experts offering advice to involving commercialization and a wide range of other things. So you can email or call Chris. There's a Survey Monkey if you want to give us some feedback. And our next webinar, Chris?
Is with Charlie Cleveland,
who is the program manager for USDA. Charlie has the distinction of being the last remaining original SBIR program manager. In other words, he started when the program was just enacted. Every other agency has had people retire out and continue, but we're in the end of Charlie's era at USDA still. I think Charlie's like my dad, will never retire. Do you know the date for Charlie's?
May 19th.
So that'll be May 19th for the next webinar, and we'll be sending out information on that. Thank you, everybody, again for attending, and please give us your feedback on how we can make these more useful for you. Bye.